Hi, I'm Raffaella Ferrero Camoletto. I come from Turin, the University of Turin. I'm a sociologist working on sexuality, gender and body practices. Okay, in my career I came across sexuality for a chance because I started my research activities working on other bodily practices. I worked on extreme sports, and then I had the opportunity to work in a big survey research in Italy, the first one on a national sample on sexuality, and from then and it was 2005, I get more and more involved into the sexuality field, also because I thought it's a very interesting field of research, because of course everybody has something to do with sex, the same with food. So there are universal activities and everybody has to say something about sex. And then I arrived to deal more with the medical aspect of sexuality when I started to work on the Viagra social effect. So the launch of Viagra have changed the way people live sex as a way to perform masculinity especially, but also to perform gender generally speaking. And so dealing with pharmaceuticalization of sex, I've started to work more on medical aspect. Of course, my perspective is not medical, is sociological, but I started to work together with physicians. So I also joined urological, andrological conferences, and to work together with other disciplinary perspective, like medical perspective and sexual medicine experts perspective. I think it's very useful to have a more comprehensive understanding of sexuality, which is multidimensional. So it means to be dealt with a multidisciplinary approach. Well, I was invited by the coordinator, by Marianne, and honestly, I didn't know so many people within the network. I met here many specialists, and it was it is a really important opportunity to create and to enlarge my network. There is another sociologist within the network, a Spanish professor, colleague, with whom I've started to work on a small qualitative research on midlife women and their postmenopausal experience of sex, but also the possibility to discuss with a lot of colleagues from other backgrounds like psychology or other more medical background and training. I think is stimulating. Sometimes I feel that I'm a bit out of place. I was saying a black sheep here, but at the same time, I think also it's an interesting challenge for me, and maybe also for the network, to have a sociological insider or outsider, which is inside, that try to bring some critical perspective. Usually, I think the aim of cost action, generally speaking, is to construct the basis as with networking for maybe proposing big research projects. And my hope is that maybe we can try to construct a big research project on a European basis. My aspiration would be that we could maybe implement a sexuality survey on a European basis using the same questionnaire, so with a real comparative basis. In Italy we really need it because we still are lagging behind, and the last research we have published on a national scale was the one in which I was involved evolved and so published in 2010. And from then on, only on smaller sample and more specific young people, women, and so on. And so we really need, but I think it would be really also a value to have a more European comparative basis, because we learn a lot of things on this comparative basis. Today we had this presentation from Professor Kontula from Finland about problem with orgasm, women and problem with orgasm. I was thinking, first of all, if I propose a research like this in Italy, probably I would not receive 7,000 replies in one day, first. And secondly, probably I will receive some complaints, I don't know, from my university or from the dean of my department. So, of course, each country has a different story, has a different moral background, but this is the reason why I think a comparative research would tell a lot, and maybe also help countries like mine, where maybe there is a very still conservative approach towards sexuality, to maybe go a bit ahead. Well, sure, this is a big issue, the digitalization of sex, and very often the focus is on the dark side. So today we heard papers on presentations on cyber sex and I don't know, pedophilia online and so on. But at the same time, I think that using digital media opened up opportunities for people to express and to experience maybe a larger and a more inclusive larger and more inclusive way sexuality for people who have maybe more different sexual interests than the average. It was a way to find a safe place, a safe space to try to find comfort and maybe to find also other people to share. To get information, also to get in touch, because virtual exchange is not without the body. The body is present. Sexting is a way also for young people, for people in general, to get in touch when maybe during the lockdown, for instance, maybe we couldn't meet in person. So I think it's important, and if we think more specifically of sexual health, the digitalization of sexual health is very interesting. Again, there are, of course, opportunities and risks. Opportunities because it's a way to reach also hidden population. There is the possibility of self-tracking, so people can also keep track of their own sexual performance and sexual problems, for instance, and can be monitored. There is also this aspect of big data that can be controlled by maybe big brands. There are good opportunities offered by digital media because, for instance, there are more opportunities to track people maybe having disease, sexual transmitted disease. There is also an ambivalent aspect that is what is called in the literature the quantified sex. The fact that sex is more and more measured in with quantitative criteria, and there are a lot of apps for mobile phones in which people are tracked for their performances, and then they can compare their performance with other people, so that that can create a sense of competition or maybe of inadequacy, and also it sets a standard which is an idealized standard very often. So of course there are dark side and bright side, but for sure the digital media have had a strong impact on sexual health and sexuality as a whole.